Ridiculous NFL conspiracy theories that strangely make sense. The NFL is without question the most powerful sports league in North America. And as we all know, with great power comes great conspiracy. All right, that's not how the famous line from Spider-Man's Uncle Ben goes. But when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry, it's inevitable that people are going to have serious bouts of mistrust that lead to theories about what's really going on behind the scenes. Over the years, the National Football League has had more than its share of conspiracy theories, from games being scripted to officials being corrupt to White House interference. Some of these are utterly wild, while others are probably more true than the league would like to admit. Plus, Aaron Rodgers loves him a good conspiracy theory. So why shouldn't the rest of us get in on the action? So, we're going to give you 10 of our favorite NFL conspiracy theories and let you know which ones are complete and total bunk, and which ones might need some legitimate investigation. Y'all know about the one pertaining to a certain musical superstar and her tight end bow, but let's warm up with a few perhaps lesser-known examples. 10. John Elway should have been a Raider. Did the NFL commissioner pull the plug on a blockbuster trade? Back in 1983, the Indianapolis Colts had the number 1 pick in an NFL draft that went to field the greatest QB class of all time. John Elway was a consensus top player, but he made it clear he would not play for the Colts, saying he would go play baseball instead. It helped that Elway had leverage. He was also a serious MLB prospect who was taken by the Yankees in the 1981 baseball draft, 6 spots ahead of another two-sport star named Tony Gwynn. Rumor has it the Las Vegas Raiders had a monster trade package on the table to move up and take Elway with the top pick. But former owner Al Davis and former NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle had, let's say, a healthy dislike of one another. So, as the story goes, the Colts were willing to take the Raiders' offer, but Rozelle shut it down to stick it to Davis, allowing the Denver Broncos to make the deal and forever change the fortunes of two franchises. Though the Raiders won that year's Super Bowl, they have not won one since. Verdict: this feels like something that absolutely would have happened. I say it's true. Goodell turned off the lights during the Super Bowl. Some people think the Superdome power issue was not an accident. The power of the NFL commissioner leads to several conspiracies, including his ability to kill the power. The story goes that in Super Bowl 47, Baltimore Ravens returner Jacoby Jones brought the second-half kickoff 108 yards home for a touchdown, putting his team up 28-6 on the San Francisco 49ers. This was looking like an inevitable blowout. Blowouts are bad for ratings. So, just after the return, the lights went out in New Orleans. It was too dark to play for 34 minutes. When power was eventually restored, the Niners went on a wild run, scoring 17 unanswered points and eventually giving themselves a chance to tie with a 2-point conversion, which failed. The Ravens won by 3 points, but what was a sleeper turned into a thriller. So, of course, the theory started circulating that Roger Goodell ordered the blackout, then had a chat with the teams telling them to make it closer, so the TV audience would stick around and make advertisers happy. Verdict: total bunk. The Superdome is a wonderful but very old building. This was just a good, old-fashioned accident. Or it was residual from Beyoncé putting on the greatest halftime show of all time. 8. Favre flopped to give Strahan the sack record. Giants Hall of Famer single-season sack total is a source of controversy. In 2001, Michael Stan was 1 sack shy of breaking the single-season sack record. The New York Giants were hosting the Green Bay Packers in the season finale. For 57 minutes, Brett Favre was basically untouched. Then something weird happened. With Green Bay on top 34-25, Favre looked like he wanted to hand off to a running back who was clearly intending to block, not receive a football. Favre then turned directly into the path of a rushing Strahan and literally fell down at the rampaging lineman's feet, handing Strahan the record. Did Favre flop to help out a fellow future Hall of Famer? Take a look and see for yourself. Verdict: there is no question Favre made this happen. It's 100% true. Eli isn't the only Manning whose dad helped control who drafted him. Peyton staying in school could have been a ploy to avoid the Jets. The quarterback class of the 1997 NFL Draft was not great. The first three passers picked were Jim Druckenmiller, Jake Plummer, and Danny Warfel. It's pretty safe to say Peyton Manning would have been the first QB, if not the first player overall, off the board that year. Knowing this, Manning surprised many when he decided to stay at the University of Tennessee for his senior season. The conspiracy here is that his father, Archie Manning, was pulling the strings of his son's career, something we know for sure he did with Eli in 2004. The New York Jets were convinced they would be able to draft Manning that year. They had just hired Bill Parcells as head coach. Parcells was a proven winner, but in the Manning household, people claim he was seen as a defense-first quarterback killer. So, Peyton stayed in school to give another team the chance to select him the next season. Verdict: while it certainly is plausible, Peyton Manning is a legend in Knoxville. I think he just wanted to be as prepared as possible for the NFL. This is bunk. 6. NFL forced Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. Was Harbaugh's trip to SoFi Stadium orchestrated by the league office? Whatever the reasons are for Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan, the real question here is why did he land with the Los Angeles Chargers? Harbaugh should have been a hot commodity. You'd think a guy with his track record would have been talking to every team that had a coaching vacancy. But he only interviewed with the Bolts and the Atlanta Falcons. As the kids say, that is super SUS. Plus, this is a franchise that has never paid coaches. Their previous three hires, Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and Brandon Staley, made about $12 million combined. Suddenly, they're anteing up $16 million a year for Harbaugh. My sources around the league have a theory that Goodell got involved, telling everyone to keep their hands off Harbs because he was going to L.A., then made notoriously frugal Chargers chair Dean Spanos loosen the purse strings because they've been unable to make the move away from San Diego work, and Dino was basically embarrassing the league. Verdict: true. It is so completely out of character for that ownership group that it has to be true. 5. Super Bowl 40 was rigged for the Steelers. Seahawks fans are still mad about suspect officiating. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a classic, nationally beloved NFL franchise. This game was played in Detroit, hometown of Pittsburgh running back Jerome Bettis, and about a 4-hour drive from the Steel City. Ford Field was packed with folks waving terrible towels. The Seattle Seahawks were a very good team that went 13-3 that year. For some reason, every call in that game went Pittsburgh's way. Seattle had a touchdown waved off because of a questionable holding penalty. Ben Roethlisberger may or may not have crossed the goal line on a scramble that was ruled a touchdown. It was an avalanche of stuff. There are online threads to this day bemoaning the officiating of that game, which was objectionably terrible. Verdict: the optics were not great, but I don't think anyone was trying to manipulate the outcome. Bunk. 4. Super Bowl 3 was fixed for the Jets. Perhaps Joe Namath's guarantee was more than just supreme confidence. In the 1960s, the fledgling American Football League was stealing players and viewers from the older, more established National Football League. In 1966, they decided to try a merger with the champions of both leagues playing in a game that would come to be known as the Super Bowl. The first two championship games were won by Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. In the third installment, Johnny Unitas and the Baltimore Colts were playing the New York Jets and Joe Namath, their brash young quarterback. The conspiracy here is the NFL thought if there was a third straight NFL win, then people would sour on the AFL, thinking it's inferior and killing the chance for them to join forces to pool all the revenue. So, people theorized the fix was in, and the Jets were going to win that game no matter what. Former Colts star Bubba Smith has even gone on the record saying he thought the game was rigged. If Officer Hightower thinks so, there might be something to this. Verdict: unlike Super Bowl 40, this one had the future of an entire league riding on it. I say true. 3. Seahawks didn't hand it off to Marshawn Lynch out of spite. Head coach Pete Carroll's motivation in Super Bowl 49 has come into question. It's one of the most famous play calls in NFL history. Super Bowl 49. The Seahawks and New England Patriots played a classic in the Arizona desert. With 28 seconds left and the Pats up 28-24, Seattle drove down to the 1-yard line. They had all-world running back Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, a man who could get 1 yard with nobody blocking for him. And the Seahawks threw a pass. Russell Wilson was picked off by Malcolm Butler in the end zone, killing their chance to win back-to-back titles. I was at that game and heard Pete Carroll say he saw the Pats loading up to stop the run, so they went with the pass. Conspiracy theorists, however, think Carroll was in a beef with Lynch and knew if he scored that TD he would have been the game's MVP, so he ordered the throw to try and steer the honor to someone else. Verdict: Carroll wants to win more than anything. No way he cost his guys a ring out of spite. 100% bunk. Don Shula cheated to win the 1982 AFC Championship game. Rain soaked the field in Miami, and there was no tarp in sight. The 1982 NFL season was shortened by a strike, but the playoffs went on as usual. The AFC Championship game was played at the old Orange Bowl in Miami, with the Miami Dolphins hosting the Jets. New York took the game's third-ranked offense to South Florida, which was expecting some serious rains in the week leading up to the game. Interestingly, the grounds crew never put a tarp on the field. In fact, they said there wasn't even a tarp at the stadium. Miami won 14-0 in a quagmire on one of the ugliest fields you'll ever see in a playoff game, earning it the timeless nickname the Mud Bowl. There are whispers that head coach Don Shula ordered the field to be exposed to the elements to slow down the Jets. He said at the time the stadium was owned by the local government, so it wasn't even his call. Who do you believe? Verdict: yup. I say this is some amazing gamesmanship by one of the sport's most legendary coaches. True as true can be. 1. Democrats put the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and Taylor Swift was an accomplice. When Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce and global pop icon Taylor Swift became an item, it was adorable. When KC went to Baltimore and knocked off the favored Ravens in the AFC Championship game, a shocking number of people thought it was not because the Chiefs are a really good football team. They say it's because left-leaning politicians wanted Swift, who endorsed Joe Biden in the 2020 election, to have the biggest platform imaginable to spread her liberal pro-Biden propaganda to an estimated 100 million American TV viewers. I truly hope I don't have to explain this one any further. Verdict: this is one of the stupidest things I have ever heard. It's bunk. All stats courtesy of Pro Football Reference, unless otherwise noted. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for daily updates.